Syed Zagham Ali Shan.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Today's topic is about Imam Hassan al-Askari, but before we talk about his life and his impact to his generation and the current generation, Brother Syed Ja'far al-Hashimi is going to do tilawat of the Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. MashaAllah, beautiful recitation by Syed Ja'far. And while we are at you, Syed Ja'far, can you please tell the audience about the brief life of our 11th infallible Imam?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم محمد.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala.
First, assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters. It's been a long while since we haven't done this program. Unfortunately, Sayyid Haziq isn't here today. Unfortunately, has exams. So first of all, I'd like to talk about Imam al-Askari, Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. His birth was a few days ago. It's past now. A few facts. The Imam was 28 years old. He was born in Medina and he died in Samarra by poisoning. A few points that the Imam left us with. He said, Taqwa Allah. These are the duties that he left us to fulfill. He said, Taqwa Allah, zakah, because salah will not be accepted by he who doesn't pay it. To forgive others and to restrain your anger. To take care of your kinship. To console your brother and to help and to look after their interest in good and the bad times. Tolerance when faced with ignorance. To understand your religion, which we'll be talking about later on. And to be certain of matters before decision. To keep the Quran on your side and to have good manners. And amaru bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. These are obviously a lot of important stuff we have to do, and to become a true Shia, to become a true mu'min, we have to fulfill all these duties. If not, we strive to do all of them. Alhamdulillah, we as brothers, we're starting off with Quran, starting off with the program, inshallah. All you brothers and sisters who are watching can benefit from this and strive towards fulfilling.
I would like to mention also, Imam Hassan al-Askari spent most of his life in jail, but that does not put him down or make less of an influence that he had on society.
To be honest, it makes him a bigger influence because how he, because he was imprisoned.
We will talk about that
later on,
Sure.
And obviously the program is called Youth Forum, and it's important to start off learning about your religion from a young age, because then you could move on to bigger things. For example, becoming an alim, or if people don't want to become an alim, maybe to spread the word, like as for example, Brother Zagham, he recites as well, and that's a way of spreading the name of Islam.
The message, even if you don't have to become a Maulana, sit on the minbar and just recite to all the people, one-to-one. I mean, if you've got friends, like there's one of our friends that I can't mention his name, but if we, help him out kind of in a polite way, not in just, you should do this, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. It's akhlaq.
Because that's what the Imams teachers, don't they? The akhlaq and the way you present yourself and your religion to others.
The way we talk to people, because
you don't have to force your religion on others, but instead, show patience and virtue and slowly guide them towards the right path, because at the end of the day, you're doing them a favor for this world and the akhirah as well. So, Brother Zagham, what is the influence of Imam Hassan al-Askari to that generation and of course to this generation as well?
Imam Hassan al-Askari had a brief span of around 28 years in his life, but even in this short period of time, he was still able to give several tribulations and give several higher ranking scholars benefited from his ocean of knowledge, even though he was filled by chains of troubles and chains of calamities. Also, he stemmed the flood of atheism and disbelief which ensured from the philosophers of that age winning conspicuous success over them. Now, even at his young age, from such a young age, there's a story I want to say is that it says here, once Bahlul saw the Imam, the young Imam alayhi salam, crying on the street. Now, if we saw a child crying on the street, we would assume that he was troubled by, child issues or not playing or not having friends.
Yeah.
So Bahlul assumed the same because he saw where all the children were playing, the Imam wasn't. And he asked the Imam whether he was crying because there was no toys to play with. And listen to the Imam's reply. He goes, "We have not been created to play." This was his answer at such a young age. Bahlul asked where he had learned this from, and the Imam said, Have you not read the Quran when it says, "Do you think we have created you in vain and that you will not be returned to us?" Not only did the Imam give such a bizarre answer for a child, but he used the Quran to back himself up.
I think it's important to point out that that doesn't mean that we shouldn't play at all. I think it means that we shouldn't spend most of our time or waste our time
doing.
No, it means that the Imams have a different duty to us. That means, for example, if we were created to be born in a specific way or born in a specific family, because duties to different persons is different. For example, your duty will be different from mine in our households, or on a bigger scale in the world. If we get
even on the show, your duty is to host the program,
and our duty is to answer the questions and have a discussion. Everyone has different duties, and the Imams are different. Their responsibility was not like us to pray 5 times. Even if they had 1,000 rakats to pray, if they didn't pray 1 rakat, it was like they committed this. That's how they felt. Obviously, they can't commit sins, but they would feel bad. And I can't remember the reference, but somebody asked, like, why do you feel sad? He goes, I missed 1 rakat out of the 1,000 rakats because of this. They were busy.
Yeah, I mean, to compare we shouldn't compare, but to see the difference between our life and the Imam's life, it's as if it's a road. Their road is a road 1,001 centimeters. Yeah, just imagine this with me. 1,001 centimeters. If we go 1,000 centimeters, the 1 centimeter to us it's just merely nothing, insignificant. But if for the Imams,
basically perfection.
They have to fulfill. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the duty. This 1 centimeter, we will held accountable for it. That's why if we look at it, we'll say, okay, you shouldn't play, but this 1 centimeter counts, and it's their duty. If they're not role models, who should we look up?
So another moral of Imam Hassan Askari's and all the Imams is, no matter what is left, even if it's 1 centimeter, don't consider it significant, because that 1,000 centimeters is there to make sure you get that 1,001. Another influence was that Ahmed ibn Ishaq relates that when he heard the death of the Imam, the 10th Imam, Imam Ali Naki alayhi salam, he went to Samara and asked for the whereabouts of the 11th Imam, where he found out that the 11th Imam was in jail. So he bribed some guards to go visit the Imam, and once he did, he said that the prison was a tunnel under the Khalifa's home, where there was no space to stretch one's legs, no room to be able to stand. This is the condition our Imams were in. Can you believe it?
Very tight.
And then he said, Ahmed says he cried when he saw the Imam. That's how bad it was, his condition. For the food was only 1 glass of water and a piece of dry bread. This reminds me of Imam Ali's time, when he only used to have only 2 pieces of food. And then he said he was in prison because all the rulers knew of the justice that was promised to come with the coming of the 12th Imam, which relates to us, the Imam Mahdi Jalallahu Ta'ala. They wished to prevent anyone from being born of the 11th Imam. So they tried to prevent the birth of the Imam, Imam al-Zamana, but we all know what the true story is. So whilst in prison, he told his companions to accumulate all the masails of fiqh and complete the masails on the chapters that were found missing. And then, this is the most important, he introduced the institution of taqleed, because he was preparing us for the Imam. And he used this because he was in jail, so he was unfortunate not to see all his companions. So he prepared them to for our Imam. So our separation.
The gap from the start of the till the end, they've been preparing us for this time, where we don't have, unfortunately, but at least we have the Maraji, we can do taqleed.
So as well as many influences of showing how he was an Imam, and just like all the other Imams, he influenced our society by trying to bring us up in this way of taqleed and to understand our Imam by being separate from him.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention to the viewers that the phone line is open, and the discussion is not only between us, it's between the whole of the youth as well. So don't be shy to ring in. In the second half of the program, we will have a question for you to answer, and there will be a prize as well, as our brothers reciting poetry as well, and in which you can get involved as well by calling in, spreading the message of Islam and showing how you spread the word by any way you can. For example, reciting nasheeds or reciting poetry, as we are going to be doing that so on the second half.
WAFIQ will mention as well that we have an email, and if you don't feel comfortable reading your poem, it's possible that if you send your poem by email, we could help you out, or we could read it next week or in the several weeks, in the forthcoming weeks. Because
I think people like to spread the word of Islam, but they're too shy, or they want to keep anonymous because they don't want to seem like they're bragging, which is a very good thing.
A very good
thing. Trying to be modest.
Indeed,
But being modest does not mean to help the world and accumulate. We need to have people who speak for Islam, especially in the current circumstances.
And there's a quote here by Imam Hassan al-Askari, which says, "A son has been born to me. Keep this matter secret, because I will not divulge it except to my close associates and relatives." This could be seen as referencing to Imam Mahdi.
Another story before we move on. There was one of the Christian priests at the time of the Imam. At the time there was a drought. So this Christian priest came to the rescue. He lifted his hands and he prayed, and the rain fell down. Now, obviously, there's a lot of doubt at the time. The religion of Islam was breaking down. So the Hakim, the leader of the area, he came to Imam al-Askari alayhi salam. He said, this is the situation, and what should we do? So the Imam, he told his students to go and to search the man as he does the dua. In his hand he will have a bone. Get that bone and come to me. So and this is a vague story, I can't remember every detail. So they done what the Imam told them, got the bone and came back. Now when he done the dua without the bone, nothing happened. So they asked him, what is this bone, what's happening now? He said, this is the bone of one of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as he did this dua, all the rain fell, but now he doesn't have any, and I will show you the true dua. He raised his hands and the rain fell.
That's exactly. So Imams are showing us that we don't need superstitious things. Now we have mashallah rings to help us, and they have all their own barakah and their own special features, and why should we wear
it? Just shows even how he was in prison, that he's still guiding Islam.
Still guiding, and we need to move away from these superstitions, that one day only our hands and our heart can pray for Allah and He can accept our du'as.
And obviously because he was imprisoned for the majority of his life, and even though he was in prison, as Jafar said, that he spread the word of Islam. So that's like clearly trying to say that the current youth, or not even the youth, like the current Muslim nation, that even if you get oppressed, or even if you get pressured into conforming to the current society, the westernized society you might call it, for example listening to music, or this and that, which can be seen as haram, even though you might be oppressed to conform, you should try to resist it, because the akhirah is much more pleasant than this world.
Just like we use the example of the Imams a lot, because obviously they are the best examples, but if you want to see an example of a human being, even the companions of the Imams, even when they were in prison or in oppressive times, because their times were like us, much worse. If you were Shia, you would be killed straight away. For example, Hidayat Maysam Tammar, one of the companions of Imam Ali and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and he was in prison with Mukhtar. If you watch Mukhtar Nama, you can see it there. If you read books, you can understand. They say that his tongue was cut off on the palm tree because he was still spreading Islam on the time when he was hanged. So that shows that we are not fearing, and even if you are getting killed or you're in prison, you should still spread Islam, and it works.
These are like the role models for the current youth. You can say, but like the majority don't do this, the majority don't do that. But you have to look at your role models. For example, the Imams, what they've done for you essentially, because they've sacrificed their life for the name of Islam and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you should look at their lives and try to strive. Obviously we can't be like we can't be perfect or we can't be.
Because if you give us the straight image of, you know, Imam, he did this, raises and I can't do that. I can't bring rain down. You know. But
then if you look at the Quran, if you analyze the surah,
which we will do later on,
if you look at the surah that where Sulaiman said, who can bring the throne of I can't remember the person's name.
It's from I think it was from Yemen or something. It was a long distance.
A long distance. It's a very famous one. So if you look into it, then you can find it for us. And one of the jinns, because obviously Sulaiman had that ring, said, "I'll do it by the time you stand up." And then a human being, if you look into it, analyze, I don't want to tell you so you can look yourself, said, "I will do it in the blink of your eye." And they brought the throne. So that just proves that even human beings,
the power of prayer and the power
if they believe in Allah, Allah,
power of worship. And obviously I think the current generation are underestimating the power of dua,
the power of salah. Salah is the main fundamental.
I mean, I've heard many miracles, for example, in the shrine of Imam Raza, where people go, they have many disabilities and they come back cured. And there's
a lot of stories.
And people just try to regard it as, you know, oh, no,
this is just a myth. A lot of people say that.
But I think because that's due to like the current world making us very superstitious.
Even though we shouldn't like fully rely on that, because if you just rely on that, then, you know, it's like
But the true miracles are the ones when you read the dua, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati,
and you understand it as well.
Look at the poetry, look how it flows, look how beautiful.
And as Jafar said before, you can't just rely on dua, because obviously I think we can all say that people are just, you know, doing whatever they want most of the time, but when they need something to be done, but it's quite difficult, for example, like an exam, they might be, you know, chilling or whatever without, you know, doing any work, revising, and then like one day before the exam they pray to Allah and expect to get A's. We have to work hard and pray.
I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Rahim ar-Rahim, he will probably give you good grades, but at the same time you have to give something back. If you don't, then, you know, there's consequences.
Obviously, because people, you know, for example, they don't do anything throughout the whole year, but then when they're in a difficulty, they remember, only in difficult moments do they remember Allah.
It's like Imam Ali says, there's two types of days, good days and bad days. On your good days, you should be grateful, and on your bad days, you should be hopeful.
MashaAllah.
This is what we should strive towards.
Yeah, it is. I have, as we're going back to, you know, the rakats, the amount of rakats that you prayed, as you said, you know, for example, the road example that you gave. There's a quote from Imam Hassan al-Askari which says, "Worship is not the quantity of prayer and fast, it's how much you think of your God." And the classic example is this, for example, when you're playing a game, and, you know, your mom or your father tells you that it's prayer time, so you leave the game, go to prayer, rush the prayer, to come back without even thinking of Allah.
I mean, it's like you can rush 1,000 rakats, but in the same time, if a person reads 10 rakats, all the mustahabat, not even that, even the wajibat, just wajibat, perfectly in a loving way.
Because I mean, like namaz is the conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and obviously if your mind is somewhere else and you just want to get through this because you have other worldly affairs to get
in the hereafter, the salah will come in a form, something in the form of a human being. If you want this human to be, you know, beautiful, he wants to wear good clothes, to direct you in the right path, then obviously you need to do the mustahab. If you rely just on your wajibat, then there's not a lot. I mean, not all of the youth have done their wajibat to the fullest. So what we should do is add these mustahabbat, because some people say, yeah, I'm not even doing the wajib properly. Why should I do the mustahabbat? Well, if you want to like become a better person, do your mustahabbat, do your wajibat properly. Start with the mustahabbat while you're doing the wajib. So doing the dua in the salah, after the salah, tasbih al-zahra, you know, all these adiyah. Because at the end of the day, well, not at the end of the day, in the hereafter, the salah will come in a perfect form. He will guide you to the right path.
And because obviously this world is like a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I think it's quite clear to say that most of us are failing the test because we're relying too much on the world than we are thinking about the akhirah. For example, where we'd rather have something right now than wait and have patience till, you know, you go to the akhirah, because
I mean, it's only logical to revise for a test. So.
Yes, it's only logic. Not only that, because you'd rather skip a prayer, for example, to watch a movie because the movie is on television. So you'd wait till, you know, if it's namaz time, you're like, oh wait, let's just this football match, let it finish. But you don't think of like what you
just think, you delaying yourself from visiting Allah, Allah will delay you to going heaven.
MashaAllah, because like me and Sayyid Zaygam, we go to a Hawza, Qam Youth Foundation, and what we learned there is one of the things is that that example exactly that you gave is sort of shirk, but not of you know, like what's it called?
Can't remember the word exactly.
There's a hidden shirk and there's what's the opposite of hidden?
Visible shirk.
Visible or you know, explicit. The hidden shirk is that exact example, because you have salah and you have TV.
Hidden shirk is hypocrisy. That's what you're talking about, and visible shirk.
Just interrupt. I think we have a caller here. So hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I on Youth Forum?
Yes, you are, sister.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Sorry to interrupt you. There is a youth program, but still I had got something to share with you all guys.
Yes, please.
That's fine.
Okay. May I go ahead, yeah?
Bismillah.
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Actually, I've got just ideas like to share with you that being a youth forum, I think if you all guys discuss on the comparative study of all the revealed books and if it like means all the whatever the revealed books are there, if we all do with the authentic revealed ones, the comparative study. And second, that because of a Quran, it has given us a very good system, whether it is political or educational or whatever system. So because being a youth, we can bring forward all the like projects and discussing on media, like, because Hidayat is we know that it is a platform to just to disseminate our ideas. So if just I had these two things to discuss with you, so if it can be if it can go further, like means can be means done with. So just have to say, and all the good wishes to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very good, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sister, for calling.
Okay.
We'll take.
Okay, Khuda.
The sister is right. We should go into the comparative analysis. However, it's difficult on a channel because not all our audience is to a very high standard and level. Surely our fans or any viewers or anybody who's keep watching the Youth Forum and follows us, we'll go into deeper discussions and continue to promote Islam, and obviously whatever concerns the youth politically or globally or even locally, we will try our best to cover all those topics.
That's good, and the sister said, to obviously, as Zaham said, to go into depth and of the analysis and try to explain it. And we can't only just explain it. We have to explain it like through the perspective of youth, because we are youth ourselves, and we know how hard it is to maintain a level of being religious, for example.
Imam Ali alayhi salam said, I think it was Imam Ali, al-deen mateen fata'ammuqu bih bi but'. He said the deen is very deep, so go into it. Pardon my bad translation. Go into it go into it very slowly. If we dive into the ocean, there's no point.
The shaitan plays like that. When you are bored, and when you go to a majlis, a really good lecture, and you have those thoughts, you're like, wow, what a good lecture. Tomorrow I'm gonna read Salatul Layl and Salatul Fajr. I'm gonna do all Nawafil.
Start off small.
It's like Ramadan. You read 10 Quran and 10 Sparas, 10 chapters within the first 2 days. Then you finish the first Quran. You're like, I finished one Quran. Let me take a rest. You take another rest.
Or you read 2 chapters on the first day and the second day. Just like
as you said, Brother Jafar, starting off small. For example, waking up for Fajr. I mean, most of the people don't even wake up for Fajr because they get tempted by the shaitan, making the bed feel so comfortable, etc. So what you need to do is just start off very small. For example, wake up for Fajr every day and read them. Read Fajr on time. Read every other salah on time, and slowly build from there. For example, so after Fajr you might read like a ruku of the Quran, and then build from there.
Yes, like I give a personal example which happened recently. Mashallah, one of the brothers, I won't mention his name, so Allah will reward him even more. There's an event we do on a weekly basis. WAFIQ and Jafar will come as well, and we had an issue that there was a big event right after it, and we were concerning, like not a lot of people are going to come and this kind of stuff. So why don't we just like postpone the event? But he replied beautifully with a hadith of the Imam, and he said, one of the Imams, I can't remember who's his name. Inshallah, we'll find out as well. He said, an act that is what's it called, that is regular and small.
I think it's from Imam Ali that quote.
Imam Ali, WAFIQ is saying. So Imam Ali said that an act which is small and regular is far more significant than an act which is big but irregular. Which inspired me, and alhamdulillah, that small event that we had actually had a lot of people, more than we expected. So the Imam does answer our calls.
Yeah, because that links back to starting off small, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have a quote from Imam al-Askari, which I want Zaygum to sort of analyze. It says, the worst people is he who has two faces and two tongues, praises his brother in front of him and eats his flesh in his absence. Obviously there's a lot of metaphorical language there, but what can we as youth get from that, Brother Zaygum?
Now that hadith you read is very beautiful written, and if you analyze it, it will take a very long time, but one of the questions that you're going to pose sooner is about the Imam, and in that answer Brother Ja'far will talk about Surah Al-Ma'un, and he will analyze the different types of people, and we will link the answers of how this links to hypocrisy, which he was talking about before, the shirk, hidden shirk and visible shirk, and this way of acting is not helping the Imam, and how can we build ourselves inside. And
if you want, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, talk about it now.
Alright, so just briefly what Zaygum said, Surah Al-Ma'un, I mean, if you want to talk about your side first, and then
I'll go talk, if we move on to the Imam, first you analyze the surah, talking about it, and then talk about how it affects us and how we do Imam.
The surah we read in the start of the program, Surah Al-Ma'un, there's a lot of meaning into it, and we'll take, I don't know, one ayah from it, or two. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون صدق الله العلي العظيم. فويل means woe upon those who forget their salah or take their salah lightly, and those who try to show off.
Which is pretty clear, but if you analyze it.
Now, obviously this is a basic translation, but when you want to try, give the meaning of it. People who try, I think we got
a caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. This is Hidayat Agri speaking.
Okay,
just want to let you guys know you guys doing a really great job. Very beautiful program. Sorry I couldn't be there.
It's okay.
You must come next week.
Inshallah, we'll see you next week, Brother Hazak.
It's been very beautiful and good discussion, intellectual discussion actually. And hadith also Imam Ali, just to make sure they go.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Even when Hazak's not here, he's still looking after me.
He's always analysing our show as well, mashallah.
Take care guys, take care.
That was nice, getting a call from a regular guest who couldn't be here because of obviously the examination.
Thank you very much, Hazak, I know you're watching. Anyway, so the people who take their salah lightly, salah is the fundamental foundation for everything basically. إن الصلاة تنفع عن الفحشاء والمنكر. If you do salah, you will stop doing bad stuff. Basic. You obviously, if you don't, take care of your salah, then you won't see any difference. You won't stop lying. You won't stop doing bad stuff. You won't do this and that. Something important that we should include and we should become is piousness, or becoming more pious. This is an Arabic language called taqwa, so many of you might be familiar. Piety is to keep yourself from forbidden acts, and we can do this by achieve this by restraining yourself from some of the things that are allowed. So as Zaygum says, playing with the toys, spending time without concern.
That, just to emphasize on the point that playing with toys is okay. You need a balance in life. That's why Allah gives you 5 times of namaz, spread it around through the day, because you need a balance. So playing with toys is fine as long as you have a balance.
Obviously, because you don't want to waste your time playing. I think that's what the problem now is.
Play with the right toys. If you enjoy reading books, read books. If you enjoy playing video games, play video games.
Yeah, but as that's one of the main problems nowadays of the youth. They're spending way too much time.
There you go. There's no balance.
Wasting their time, their valuable time, where they could pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, secure their akhirah. But instead, they'd rather choose to play all night or play all day, and forget the akhirah.
Study,
but obviously this is temporary. What are you going to enjoy? You're enjoying for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but the punishment is far greater.
Even
it's not even a punishment, you know. It's like one of those things that nothing happens, but you're missing out, but you still feel bad, you know. Like a football game, you know. On Saturdays we play football. Like one day I feel like I want to play football, or I don't want to feel like, but you go play football and I don't go. Now, am I affected in any negative way? No, but I still feel, you know, disappointed. But this is on a bigger scale. And namaz is very important, especially in the recent circumstances that have occurred in our society, which is concerning us, that the Imam is amongst us, that people are being awakened, that the Imam might soon come. And one of the hadiths is, this is very important in the Wiladat of Imam Hassan Askari, because even as soon as Imam Hassan Askari passed away, we are happy that the Imam has become the Imam. But as soon as the Imam became the Imam, his troubles started again. The people are chasing him, that he has to go into occultation at the age of 5. Alhamdulillah, there's a hadith that I'm going to read now from Rasulullah. He says, Hijaz, which people can take their own analysis. Here it says Saudi Arabia. This is from Behranul Anwar, volume 52, page 240. It says, will be ruled by a man whose name is the name of an animal. When you see him from a distance, you would think he would have a lazy eye. And if you get close to him, you do not see anything wrong in his eyes. He will be succeeded by a brother of him, named Abdullah. Woe unto our Shi'as from him. Woe unto our Shi'as from him. Woe unto our Shi'as from him. 3 times he said this. Give me the good news of his death, and I shall give you the good news of the reappearance of his Hujjah. Now, we are not in any position or any status, any of us here, not any scholar or anything, nor a person besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Imams, to say when the Imam will come. But this is a message to all the youth, not only the youth, every single person who is waiting for the Imam, that you need to prepare yourself.
Because it's kind of clear that it's you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen very soon. I don't think,
because we've been on snooze for too long.
It's like hibernation. Now is the time to wake up. And now the best way to do this is not by looking outside. Don't look for the signs. The signs are just signs. But what does the Imam say? The Imam says, you are not waiting for me. It is the fact that I am waiting for you.
MashaAllah,
And you need to look in the inside, not at the outside. Because there's no point about the outside. The outside is going to happen. Time's going to go past. You can have 1,000 signs. We've had, mashallah, loads of signs in the past few decades or few hundreds of years that the Imam is going to come. Maybe he might come tomorrow. Inshallah, that's the dream of every person, every fantasy. But we don't know how long. A year's time. You have to act like the Imam is coming in the next minute. Why? Because the Imam is always looking at you. And there's a hadith of the Marifat al-Nafs which says, Man arafa nafsa faqad arafa rabba. Which means, if you know yourself, you know your God, you know your Hujjah. If you know yourself, you know your God. What does this mean? If you know yourself, are you God? No, that's not what it means. It means that when you find the truth within yourself, when you better yourself,
you find out why you've been created.
You find the truth.
This is the biggest problem in our youth at the
I think it's quite simple why it's the biggest problem, because of the advances in sciences, you know, and people learning in school that, you know,
especially philosophy and all that. It's becoming more advanced. It was a simple statement, you know.
But if you look back into if you look back into Quran and everything, you can see that some of the things that science found recently were already mentioned briefly in the Quran, which is clear sign of proof that obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty who created everything. He sent you here for a test.
Brothers and sisters, look at the books of the Imams. Look at Nahj al-Balagha, which I've read myself, alhamdulillah, the first sermon. Look at the first sermon about the creation of Allah, the characteristics, how Imam Ali describes him in such a beautiful way. Even translated in English, it sounds like poetry. You can look how similar the Big Bang Theory is to the first sermon of the Imam. And obviously, this you can tell by the Imam, and that all the Imams know about the future. And I'll finish off with this hadith. It says, at the end of time, whoever keeps his faith is like keeping a red burning coal in your hand. By Rasulullah, this is his time, not the Imams. He said, this what it means by this is, our faith in this current time will be very difficult. It'll be a hot burning coal. All the challenges that we face today are more than all the challenges beforehand. So watch yourself, better yourself, to make sure this burning coal becomes cooler.
And just to wrap up the program, Brother Zaygam, have you got anything you would like to recite for the audience? have you got a poem that you would like to recite?
We're at the end of the program at the moment. Okay. In the love of the Rasulullah, I'll read a poem.
Do you want to? Is there a second half or? Okay.
This. Okay.
We'll start.
I'll finish with one last poem. It's usually we do clapping to it, but obviously this is for everyone.
Yeah, please.
We can't. So if you do loud salawat, I'll get people.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I start in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Every day and every night I call you with my own eyes. Every day and every night I call you with my own eyes. How many tears for you have I cried to see you with my own eyes? How many tears for you have I cried to see you with my own eyes? It is the prayers of my mother to visit Rasulallah. It is the prayers of my mother to visit Rasulallah. Every step I have taken lies on your path to see your shrine. Every step I have taken lies on your path to see your shrine. I count down the days, Medina, you're in my mind. I count down the days, Medina, you're in my mind. With a broken heart of Fatima, I hope to carry to her father with Hussein from Karbala. It is the prayers of my mother to visit Rasulallah. Jonam, the greenness of your dome is all what I can see. From the darkness of my home I see your beauty. For the sake of my love, show me the birthplace of Imam Ali. Grant me ziyarat Hazrat Mustafa. Grant me ziyarat Hazrat Mustafa. It is the prayers of my mother to visit Rasulallah. For the sake of your love, Muhammad, for Mahdi, make me worthy. For the sake of your love, Muhammad, for Mahdi, make me worthy. Let me not be the cause to his tears. My master is so lowly. Let me not be the cause to his tears. My master is so lonely. Every moment in my small life is for his longing presence. I count down the days for his reappearance. It is the prayers of my mother to be alongside my Mahdi. It is the prayers of my mother to be alongside Mahdi. Every day I wake up hoping you arrive. Every day I wake up hoping you arrive. May I be ready for you and my soul alive. For the sake of my love, show me the coming of Imam Mahdi. For the sake of my love, show me the coming of Imam Mahdi. Grant me ziyarat Masjid Jamkaran. Grant me ziyarat Masjid Jamkaran.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. MashaAllah, beautifully read there. by Brother Zegham. And inshallah this poem will continue from next week as well at 4 o'clock, maybe even 5 o'clock. And if you want your poems to be read, please make sure you call in, or if you're too shy, or if you want to stay anonymous, send your poems to poetryahlalbayt@gmail.com, and inshallah we'll see you next week. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.